Hello and welcome to today's episode. I'm your host, Dr. Mal. On today's episode, we're going to be focusing on debt management. So I know you have heard of Dave Ramsey. If not, you should really look him up. People like Warren Buffett. What do these people have in common? Apart from just being, some of the richest people around, but also they have actually had the ability to go through debt. Okay, so like they have been broke before, they have been deep in debt, but they have also had the ability to manage the debt and get out of debt and stay out of debt, right? Which is like a little bit difficult in this world that we're living in, because almost like everyone is telling you to get into debt, like use debt for this, use debt for that. But how you actually use the debt is what matters. Okay, so today we're just going to focus on how you can actually get out of debt. So you are in debt and you don't know which way to go, right? Like you've been trying to pay back but you are failing. So here are some of the methods that you can actually use, and I'll talk about the advantages and disadvantages, for each. You can use one or two or a combination, right? So on the first one, we're looking at what is called the snowball method. So the snowball method is really, if you look at Dave Ramsey, he actually talks about using this to be the best method, right? And that is just the best for him, or at least he actually tells people that it is the best. And there are several reasons why this is good as a form of debt management. One of the reasons is that money is actually not, or the relationship between people and money is not a logical relationship, right? Like we know money and people is more something that is emotional, right? So the snowball effect takes into account several things. So you want to make first and foremost a list of all the credit that you are having. And I've given an example here. So you have some credit card debt, you have some car loan, you have student loan, and you have a mortgage. And you list them down from the smallest to the largest debt that you have. And this is, you are not focusing on the interest, right? Like the snowball method removes the interest aspect and you just focus on the principal that you owe. And because you are just looking at this, you are going to pay a minimum for each. So a bare minimum for the car loan, a bare minimum for the student loan, and a bare minimum for the mortgage that you are owing. And obviously, all this is, you have a plan. So for instance, for a mortgage, maybe the plan is you're supposed to pay every month $2,000, right? So like you pay that every month. But for the one that has the smallest amount of money, the smallest principal, you are actually putting extra money because it's the one you want to get rid of first. So you want to add the additional money to this, whilst you are still paying the bare minimum to this, okay? So they are not following you up to say, why are you not paying the credit that you are owing? Then after you finish with the credit card, then you would move to the car loan, right? So you move from the smallest until like that. So you are trying to build momentum and you're trying to build motivation, because the more you complete on finishing this one, you have the motivation to actually tackle the next one, which is actually the most important aspect of this, to say money is emotional. So the more you think you're having progress, the more you are likely to actually continue. Okay, so this is what the snowball is about. Now, the fact that you actually tend to put the interest rate aside actually also comes into play, because the ones that are going to have the highest interest rate, if you don't tackle them, they will still keep on increasing the money or the debt that you are owing. So with the snowball, you need to actually give yourself time. This is not the one you are going to accomplish in 1 year, but give yourself some time to say, okay, because of that, you are going to see that you are going to pay it a little bit longer. So it's not cost effective, okay? So this is what the snowball is. Then there's what you call the avalanche method. So the avalanche method is more of the counterpart of the snowball. Here, the focus should be on the interest rate, and then you align them. So I'm going to give an example, okay? These are not real numbers. I'm just going to give them as an example. We already have these types of credit that you are owing. Now let's just include the interest rate. So credit card tends to have a higher interest rate. So let's say this one you're having, like 22. Let's put 10 here. Student loan somewhere on 8 to 10. Just depends on the continent you are in, the state, the country, okay? So let's say these are the interest rates that you are having. So you're going to start with the one having the most interest rate, because this might be little compared to this, but because of that interest rate, you are actually going to pay more. So if you keep this for longer, meaning you are increasing that amount of money. That's why the snowball effect, the snowball method is not good if you are owing a lot of money or large sums of money that have higher interest rates, right? Like it's not good, because that interest rate, imagine if this 22 was somewhere here, it would mean this would actually be multiplying by a lot. So you don't want that. But on the avalanche aspect, you are actually going to tackle the one with the most interest rate. So you are going to remove that aspect. You remove it, then you go to the next one, just like that. So the advantage for this is it's cost effective, because you are tackling the one with the most interest rate. So you are reducing the amount of money you are going to spend. The disadvantage is, one, it requires you to be disciplined, and a lot of people are not disciplined. I mean, the fact that you are owing this much money, it shows that there is some type of mismanagement, right? So it requires you to have, one, to be disciplined, and also it requires you to be more patient, because progress is not going to be seen as faster as you would if you are using the snowball. Okay, the next one is called the consolidation method plan. So when you're using the consolidation, is you just go to the bank and you tell them to say, okay, I have a lot of credit with you, I'm failing to follow them up, maybe there are too many and the interest rates are killing me. So can we come up with a method where we can actually put all this together and I pay them under one form of debt? So you are going to literally add up all these types of credit into one large sum of debt, so that you can lower the interest. Okay, the interest rates are going to be lowered because of that consolidation aspect. So you have put them together, you are going to lower the interest rate. It is good if you actually have a good credit score. Most of the banks are going to give you this, but if you don't, it's going to be a little bit difficult for you to actually bargain for this. But the disadvantage again with this one is, if you're really bad at debt management, chances are, because they have reduced your interest rate, you're going to think you have room to borrow more money. So you are actually just going to end up borrowing more money. Okay, so this is the consolidation method. Then you also have a debt management plan. Now, a debt management plan requires you to seek professional help. So you go to an agency, maybe a credit payment agency, and then you go to, like, I really need my credit to be fixed. I want them to be managed properly, but I'm failing to do so. So I've come to you. Can you help me out? Therefore, they are going to come up with a plan. They're going to structure a plan. They're going to present it to the bank, and then they are going to be handling your debt on your behalf. Okay, so this is what the debt management plan is. It is obviously going to cost you, because the people you are hiring are also going to be getting money. But if you're not disciplined, or if you are not good enough when it comes to follow up on the different types of debt you're having, this is a good method, because it is removing you. Like I said, this is emotion. It is removing you from the equation, and you just have people who are literally trained to do that. Okay, so it gives you that advantage to actually pay back. Now that we have talked about management of debt, you need to know that you can employ all these methods, but if your behaviors don't change, you are actually not going to succeed. Okay, so we know money is an emotional thing, and we know getting into debt can be a very, very bad habit if you don't know how to manage it. So the number one thing that one should do is actually try to improve your habits towards money and towards debt, so that you are actually not falling into these pitfalls of just getting credit. Like Dave Ramsey, actually, he advises, like, people should never ever use any form of credit card, right? Like he cuts them off on stages. Like he just thinks this is a waste of money, right? Like, don't use credit cards, because they're tricky, right? Easy to acquire. The incentives are always there, right? But very difficult for you to pay back. So try to work on the behavior aspect of the debt management, obviously also just towards money in general and finances. All right, so this is what I had for you today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment in the comment section, subscribe if you have not yet subscribed, share it with your friend, one or two. I would really appreciate it. So until next time, this is it for today. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.